think we found ourselves another project. I picked up this Craftsman LT2000 the other night. Someone a few doors over was getting rid of it, so I dragged it home with the 0 turn. So he told me that the issue with this is that it's not getting fire, not getting spark. We need to confirm that and try it and find out. So there's no battery in it, so I need to find a battery or something to throw in there. I'll check the fuel, see what the fuel smells like, make sure there's some oil in there, and then we'll try to start it up and see if it's sparking or not. Because if not, I think I've got some parts motors I can probably steal some ignition components off of to get this one going. It's Craftsman Briggs and Stratton 19.5 horse, pretty standard power plant. It's also got a tire here that is off the bead, and the steering is super duper sloppy. I have to figure out if it's worth putting new steering components in it, or maybe I have another one that I can throw in there. First things first, need to see if we can get it running, see what we got ourselves into. We've got a battery in here, just need to get it hooked up and we'll see what this thing does. Check and make sure there is oil on the dipstick. See if it cranks. Sounded like it was trying to turn on the deck. Blade engagement is off. That's on. It's off again. Get my toes up. Let's try cranking it again, see what happens. Okay, sounds pretty normal. And it's cranking good and strong. Let's actually go as if we were going to start it. Put it in choke. So nothing immediately, and we know he said that it doesn't have spark. So check the spark plug wire real quick. Everything looks okay. Well, I can see it. There we go. So let's grab ourselves another spark plug. Yeah, and I definitely don't see any spark. So his assessment is correct, as far as I can tell. Why would it not have spark but crank over? Could be a safety switch. Let's turn the blades on and see if it still cranks. I'm gonna keep my toes clear. Okay. What are these wires for back here? What was he doing? I always love to see wire nuts hanging out the back of a mower. Let me take the parking brake off and see if it'll crank. As far as I can tell, safety switches have been disconnected. They normally have to be in park to try to crank. So I'm not sure if it's a regular ignition type problem or if there's actually if it's a safety switch problem. Alright, so it's late and I've been working on this mower because I want to get out of the shop, and I was thinking about just selling it as is, the presenting issue being that it didn't have spark. So I started looking around in here, and there's a lot of stuff going on with this wiring. I've turned my flashlight, can you see? Yeah. So wire nut there, wire nut there. There are these open wires which I actually cleaned off and tried to connect to see if that would fix it. Obviously your dead man switch is right there. This switch is not hooked up to anything. For the PTO switch down here, a nicely zip tied up safety switch. So the button should come out there. That's zip tied shut or down. So I thought maybe one of those was the issue, but that one looked pretty securely down, that safety stop for the clutch switch. I took off this wire nut and put these back on. None of that made any difference. So then I decided, let's go see what's going on at the coil of that area. See if we can't get the engine off, the cover off. This silly shroud has a little bitty screw hole right there, which goes into your manifold. And you have this air filter cover on there. This one came off perfectly easily. This one did not. It's still on there, so I had to cut the air filter cover to get that off. This shaft here is just spinning. You got your coil right here, and it runs straight to your spark plug. So your spark comes from the magnet on the 5-wheel passing by your coil. So that's pretty simple, but how do you turn off and on the mower? This is always creating a current in here when it passes by. which means there's always potential for a spark. But you have this grounding wire here on the underside of the coil, which is how you control turning off and on the mower as far as ignition. So it occurred to me, if I disconnected that grounding wire from the coil, I should be able to get spark from it. So I did that, and I didn't get any spark. I decided to find another coil, so I did, threw it on here, plugged the coil in, tried to get spark, and nothing happened. Then I unplugged the coil like I had here. I cranked it, and lo and behold, I got spark. So that's a little confusing. I'm like, okay. What happened is these two wires earlier that I had cut to see if they needed to be connected to each other had laid across each other, and they were the culprit. So I pulled those apart, plugged my coil back in, cranked it, and we got spark. Sparking nice and good. Now I just know I need to cap off those wires here. Some electrical tape will probably snip them down again so they can't touch easily, and then I guess we can kind of see if this mower will run. This spark plug boot is pretty chewed out. I don't really like that. And I don't know if I can take the boot off here, which is much better. Just for fun, let's go ahead and squirt some carb cleaner in there. See if we can get some action. All right. Think it'll fire? Oh yeah, she's a runner. Just gotta get this tire back seated on the bead or pull another one off another parts mower out there. And I think we'll have ourselves another little mower to sell. Sweet, let's get it back together. I think we're just not getting fuel. Okay, I'm gonna have to take a carb clean. The front tire on this mower is flat. Been trying to get it on the rim. I don't want to waste too much time trying to do it, but I got an idea. Out here in the parts yard, I found this tire out there. See how it fits on there. I don't know if it's the right type. Very little wiggle. I'm gonna call that good. And then basically just want to get the carburetor cleaned and a battery in here so this thing will start and run, and wash it off and try to sell it. This is a cheapo mower, so I'm not as concerned about matching tires and that kind of stuff. People probably just want something that works. It's time to get back on this mower. Let's see if we can get this thing running today, and pretty close to it being ready to sell. We got it sparking and firing, and we know it fired when we sprayed carb cleaner in there, but it's just not getting fuel. So I think it's just gonna be a standard Briggs single cylinder carb clean, and probably not a true rebuild, but a clean and reassemble and see if we can't get it running. These do seem to have the issue of surging oftentimes, which I think is caused by excessive air getting in somewhere towards idle, or that or a clogged pilot, idle low speed circuit in the carburetor. So hopefully we don't run into that on this one, and if we do, if it still runs pretty decent, we may just try to sell it that way. I don't want to chase things like that too much, because again, I think this is a list for $600, try to get $500 mower. All right, we got the carburetor out of there. You can see it's a little cruddy in there. Still functions, but there's a lot of white corrosion and stuff in there. Oh yeah, broke it free like that. See what we got in here. All right, that bowl it's dirty, but it's not like super bad. I don't think that would keep a mower from running. This part here doesn't look too bad. My float chamber. My float looks like it's actuating properly. It's gonna be our jets that's gonna be the issue, which is normal. I mean, the jets are what's normally gonna give you problems. We can try to take this off, and sometimes it messes up that gasket underneath there. So gotta try to be pretty careful. This is pretty loose. Yeah, it's not very dirty. I mean, it is dirty. Obviously it wasn't running, so. And these are the gaskets. If you get too much carb cleaner on them, they can sometimes expand, and then they are a pain to try to put back in. And you have to replace them or wait for them to dry out properly. Yeah, that main jet is clogged. And you have to remember, those jets will fall out of there. So sometimes I've had that issue. So I'm gonna see if I can't just blast this jet out here. I'm gonna aim this way just at first to make sure don't knock anything out. I'm gonna need to clean that. What you need is a really fine piece of wire. If it's a multi-strand, you just wanna get one strand out of there. So something like that. Okay, now I got it through there. Now I should be able to spray the carb cleaner through. I'm gonna take this gasket off, set it aside. Okay, it's starting to drip through it. I'm gonna go the other way now. This may pop the jet out, so maybe into the table. Yeah, I just popped the jet out there. Okay. Whoops. Try to keep it off the face if you can. So at this point, if I put this carburetor back together, it would probably run. Just cleaning out that one jet right there. It still probably wouldn't run very well. Let's try to clean out all these mixing jets on the side here. Football a little bit. Make sure there's nothing loose in there. Stains are okay. Yeah, that'll do. I think that's mostly just staining in there. So let this dry up a little bit and we should be ready to put all that back together. What I'm finding is that this solenoid sometimes will get stuck down like that, and I don't trust that. So I've got this other old solenoid which feels a lot freer, so I'm gonna throw this one in instead. We should be good to run now. Let's go throw it back on the mower. Yeah, we're close. Just not getting quite enough fuel to stay running. Closer than we were, but I think I'm gonna have to go in the carburetor again. So, time to go ahead and wrap up this mower project. I lost the float seat in the carburetor, I'm pretty sure. So I'm just gonna throw a new aftermarket carburetor on there, put the new battery in. I've got the battery in here. It should be sitting over there somewhere. I'm gonna throw the engine cover back on there and change the oil. And I think I have an air filter that's on the way and should be arriving today or tomorrow, but that'll be real quick and easy to throw on. Let's get to it. All right, got the carburetor changed out, and I added in the inline fuel shutoff. Now we just need to change the oil and put the new battery in and put it back together. I actually like these cheapo hose clamps that came with the aftermarket carburetor, because they connect on the back side here. Those two prongs are connected in a U shape, which like these ones are not, and they can get bent separately. So that'd make it a lot easier to grab with like a pair of needle nose or whatever, and you don't have to worry about popping off of one of them. Give it a whirl, see if she'll start up. She might be a little dry. I rolled it out here because I don't want to get my floor messier. cleared out some of the smoke there, because a lot of that gas oil mix had probably gotten up into the cylinder, and there's some in the exhaust, so got all that burned off. It's not running real smooth yet. I'm gonna run it a while. That seems to be a common thing in my experience with these aftermarket carburetors, is they don't run quite as smoothly. They tend to hunt a little bit, which in theory is air leaking in somewhere. It is what it is. I realized an obvious mistake I made, which was that I thought I knocked the float seat out of this carburetor, or not this one, but the one that wasn't here. I finally tried to research to see if I could buy one. What I realized is there doesn't look like there is a float seat in there. There's that little O-ring that fits at the bottom of the plastic float tower, I guess you could say, inside the carburetor. And when I saw that, I remembered, because I've been down this road before. Like, why can't I remember these things sometimes? But I think I've had that happen before, where I would get flooding through the carburetor because that O-ring was bad. So I'm seriously considering pulling out the original carb again, putting a new O-ring in there, because this aftermarket carb came with a spare O-ring. Putting an O-ring in there and putting that original carb back on here, because the mower ran better with that carb. It's just that it flooded gas into the oil when the mower was not running. I did also install an inline shutoff valve to help combat that issue, but I want it to run better than it's running. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and do that. Top off the oil, because when I changed it I didn't get enough fresh oil in there, so I need to add some more oil in. And see if I can get that tire and tube, whatever, on here. But yeah, that's my plan. I want to do those two things and get this mower out of my hair, get it up for sale. So if I do those two things, I can put it out with all my stuff to wash off, and I can wash it and sell it. It was just like I thought. This O-ring is kind of shot. And that's the O-ring that goes right in here, which is what the float tower, is what I call it, comes into, right there. I'm gonna put a new O-ring on there, and I'm gonna replace this gasket as well, because I have another one, and we'll see if that makes this thing run a little bit better. Alright, we got the carburetor back on there with the new gaskets in there. Everything's hooked back up. Put the new air filter in here. Let's see if it runs better now. Okay, I call that about a 50% success there. It idles better, but full throttle it still hunts a little bit. The thing is that normally at full throttle you're going to be running it under load, which will even it out. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I think it'll run fine for someone using it. I know it's not perfect, but time is money. So I want to change out that front right tire with the other one I found. Let's see if that one will fit here. So I hope it fits. I think this mower just needs to be washed off and sold. All right, somebody is on their way to pick up this mower now. So hopefully that works out. You never know with these things. But yeah, this mower has been waiting a little while to get sold. But it got really hot and dry here through the summer, and there didn't seem like a lot of demand for mowers. So I'll probably just leave it here so they can do a true cold start. Just need to remember to make sure the fuel is turned on. It's a good little mower. I think somebody will be happy with it. Sweet, it's $500 right there. So probably around $450 profit. I'm really happy to get that mower out of here. Thank you guys for watching, and tune in next time for another story on Garage Story.